US visa wait times have been ridiculously long in recent times. In some embassies, the wait time was 500 to 1000 days for a B1 B2 visa and 60 to 100 days for a F1 visa. No wonder students are panicking. What will happen this year? Will they get their visas on time or not? If you have received your admits and are now starting the student visa process, then watch this video till the end because we will be covering the latest news, what are some of the rules that US Embassy has changed for Indian visas, and I will also share my tips to maximize your chances of getting this student visa. Let's get started. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe because we have more videos coming up on student visas. In today's video, I'm going to cover 4 topics. First is what has changed in 2023. This is the latest news. Second is what is a good time or good timeline to follow to get the student visa. Third is what happens if you get a better admit later after you are done with your visa process. And fourth is my tips. Let's start with what has changed in 2023. Now, first of all, we need to understand that Indians remain a huge market for US. Every year, around 2 lakh Indian students go there to study. And of course, many more go there on tourist and other kind of visas. So they cannot afford to alienate Indians. Because of all the delays last year and the previous year, there has been a negative sentiment about US visas recently. So to appease the Indians, US Embassy in India, they have been working hard to make the visa process more smooth. So they have introduced 2 new changes in 2023 and I'm going to tell you about them. The first one is 365-day rule. According to this rule, F and M category visas can now be issued 365 days in advance of the program start date mentioned in your I-20. Of course, even if you get the visa, you cannot enter US more than 30 days in advance of your program start date. However, earlier you could apply only 120 days in advance. Now the visas can be issued 1 year in advance. Now, while it seems like a big deal, I'm not too excited by this rule. Here's why. The bottleneck has not exactly been the visa availability. It's also been when the I-20 reaches in your hands. So as you know, you need the I-20 from your target school to apply for the student visa. So even if the visa can be issued 365 days in advance, the thing is schools are not going to send you that I-20 so much in advance because you will have to follow the application process. There would be deadlines, then they will review the application, then only they will issue the I-20. So I don't think this is going to make that much of a difference for most of the candidates. But there is one case in which this could be helpful, and that is the case of deferred admissions. So let's say you receive an admit in April for the fall of this year, but you don't want to go and you are getting it deferred to spring of next year. Now you can get the I-20 early and get your student visa much ahead of time than other regular spring applicants. So I think that is an edge case. Beyond that, I don't think this rule makes much of a difference. Also, something to note is that until last year, the way student visas used to work was that a lot of slots would get opened on 1 or 2 days itself. So it's not like some slots are trickling down every single day so that you're logging every day and there would be new slots. The bulk slots are getting released on 1 or 2 days. Now that visas can be issued so much in advance, it remains to be seen how this process is going to change next year. So we'll see what happens. The second rule that US Embassy has introduced, and this one is specifically for Indians, is much more exciting, and this is the third country visa application rule. In February, US Embassy in India announced that Indians traveling to a few countries can get their US visa stamped in those countries itself. This includes Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, and some other countries. And I was reading there are some interesting cases where client who was getting his H1B stamped in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, got his visa stamped there. And some students are already taking advantage of this for panic-free visa applications via countries like Vietnam. But of course, everyone cannot afford this thing. You cannot just plan to an international travel just to get your student visa for US. So let's see what you can do if you are planning to get your student visa in India itself. Second thing I want to cover is what is a good time to apply for this visa. For this, let us first understand the process quickly. First thing you need to get your visa is of course an admission from the US university. Once you get this admission, you can request a document called I-20. This is a very important document. This is basically the proof that a US university is inviting you to US, and it contains some important information like service number, estimated expenses, etc. You cannot book your visa appointment until you have this I-20 in your hand, because you need all this information to fill out the forms required to book your appointment. Okay, so now that the process is clear, this is what I recommend that you do. You should wait till you get the admit from your top choice of university or the month of May, whichever is earlier. Why May? Because we saw that bulk slots were getting opened in May last year. Okay, so you can technically wait until May, check out all your admits, decide where you are heading, and then finalize that. But let's say you already get an admit from your top choice of university in the month of March, then you don't need to wait until May. You can initiate the process. Now let's take an example here. Let's say I've applied to 4 university and my order of preference between them is UIUC, then UC San Diego, Virginia Tech, and lastly UT Dallas. So this is my order of preference. Let's say I get admit from UIUC in the month of March. Why will I wait till May? I can initiate the process. Let's say I get a reject from UIUC in March. Now UC San Diego becomes my top admit, and if I receive an admit from it in the month of April, again that is my top choice university, I can go ahead with it. Of course, tricky scenarios happen when, let's say, you received an admit from UT Dallas, you have not heard back from other universities, so and they are asking for a deposit, etc. So we have done some other videos regarding all that, but that is a whole big topic. Check out those videos like how to decide between multiple admits and all. But decide what your top choice university is, and if you get an admit from there, initiate the visa process. Don't delay. Why? Because getting an I-20 itself can take a couple of weeks. So get the I-20 ASAP. Once you have the I-20, then you can fill out all the required forms for the visa and you can book your visa appointment. You might have a wait time of 1 to 9 or 10 weeks for this visa slot, so plan accordingly. And now all you need to do is appear for the visa interview on your appointed date, and if everything goes well, you will get your visa. I am going to do a separate video on visa interview questions, and previously we have done video on where 4 of our clients have shared their visa interview, what they were asked, how they answered it, etc. We will be sharing those links in the description box below, so check out those videos. Third thing I want to cover is what happens if you get a better admit later. For example, let's say I've booked my visa appointment using UC San Diego and now I receive an admit from Virginia Tech with full funding. So suddenly VT is looking a lot more attractive to me, and let's say I decide to go ahead with that instead of UC San Diego where I don't have the funding. Now what will happen? So what I want to let you know is technically it is possible to change your university after doing the visa process itself, but it is cumbersome, time consuming, and can be stressful. So here are 2 scenarios. Let's say that you have booked the appointment using UC San Diego information and now you receive the admit, but the visa interview has not yet taken place. What can you do in this case? In this case, what you need to do is you will have to do the service process again. So there is something called service fee that you have to pay before booking your visa appointment. So you have to do this process for VT again, but you can just get it transferred. So there is a process using which you fill out the service form again, but request them to transfer your fee from UC San Diego to Virginia Tech. So then you will be issued a new service fee receipt. You can use this service fees receipt to book a new visa appointment, but using the same visa fee. Okay, so in this case, you don't have to pay anything extra, but you just have to do double the process. The other worst case is, let's say you got your visa using UC San Diego. Now the thing is, when you get your F1 visa stamped, it has the university name in it. So you cannot use your UCSD F1 visa to enter US and then go and attend Virginia Tech. You need Virginia Tech to be mentioned on your F1 visa. For this, it means that you have to do the whole process again. You have to do the service thing again, you have to pay the service fee and even visa fee again, because you will have to appear for the interview twice. So overall, what I'm saying is the process is possible, but it's really complex, and avoid it as much as possible. If you want the details, just do a Google search and you will receive the detailed information on it. Or I suggest you can also go with a proven visa consultant so that they can help you out with it. And lastly, my tips for maximizing your chances of getting the student visa. The first thing, as I said, is avoid changing the university after booking the appointment or getting your visa, because the process is risky. Also, it does not pay to be too proactive here. So you want to wait till you get the right admit and then go ahead with the process so that you don't have to do it all over again. Second tip is don't over rehearse. We have seen some cases where candidates rehearse their answers too much and they sounded very robotic while answering it, and the visa officers got suspicious. So there have been cases like this which you should try avoiding. So while you want to be prepared, you don't want to over rehearse. And third thing I would say is stay calm. This is a process that takes its own time. You cannot expedite it beyond a limit. Last year, almost all of my clients got their visa after May. So just be patient, wait for the right time, and then go through the whole process. It would be close to the date, panic might set in, so just try to stay calm. And for that, a good thing is, instead of just waiting and fretting about visa all this time, try to use this time proactively for other things. For example, what you can do is try to find how can I find funding or scholarships after landing in US, or how I can prepare for internship or job hunt. And again, we have a great funding masterclass here. So for example, one of our clients who was going to UC Berkeley MIMS program, he found his TA-ship, which was worth 11,000 per semester. That was the stipend he was getting paid, and partial tuition waiver. He found that assistantship after receiving his admit, right? So this is a good time to do all that, and we have covered this example in detail in our funding masterclass. So do go through that, utilize this time well, stay patient, and just hope for the best. I'm sure if you're going to a good university, everything will work out in the end. If you have questions, please post in the comment box below, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.